Today we're going to be speaking about auxiliary verbs, and the verb that we'll use today is être, which means to be. As we learned before, all French verbs are classified by the auxiliary or helper verb that they take. So each French verb will be classified as either être or avoir. There are a few general rules that we want to follow. As we know from the past, most verbs are going to use the verb avoir as the auxiliary or helper verb. All of our pronominal or reflexive verbs use être. There are only a few other verbs that use être. We're going to discuss 18 of those. And the auxiliary verb will be the same for all compound tenses. The compound tense that we know is passé composé. Also, when we're using être as the helper verb, the past participle must agree with the subject. These are the 18 être verbs that we will be discussing in class. I have arranged them in this particular order as a way of helping you to remember them. What we are going to do is we're going to start with the opposites. These verbs are verbs that have opposite meaning. Again, we're grouping these verbs into categories to help you remember what they are. Beginning with naître, which means to be born. The opposite, of course, would be mourir, to die. Monter, to climb. Tomber, to fall. Descendre, to descend. Ascendre, to ascend. As we continue through the list, you will notice we have aller, which means to go, venir, to come, and I want you to pay particular attention to the next two verbs. They are devenir, to become, and revenir, to come again. These verbs are what is known as derivatives. As you notice, they have the word venir in them, which is the verb above it. All the derivatives of a verb will also use the same auxiliary or helper verb. In this case, the verb is être. Moving on, we're going to talk about the verbs that have similar meanings. Entrer means to enter. Rentrer, again as you see, is a derivative of entrer. We'll take the same helper verb, être. Arriver means to arrive. Rester, to stay. Passer, to pass. Retourner, to return. Partir, to leave. Sortir, to go out. And must we forget conjugation of être. This is very important. We need to know how to conjugate the verb in order to use it as the auxiliary or helper verb. We start out with je suis, tu es, il, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, and elles sont. And if you notice, I have a French website down here. This is a conjugation website, and it has a database of over 1,000 verbs that you can just type in and it'll conjugate the verb for you. I want to take a look at that, so if you would like to go with me, we'll go take a look at that. If you notice on this website, the French verb conjugator, there's a box here where you type in the verb that you want to conjugate. Also, there is a drop-down box. This is the database of the verbs. There are many verbs here, so if you're not sure or you want to check yourself, you can come out here and have this device conjugate the verbs for you. The example I'm going to place in here is être. That's the verb we're talking about. When you click on the button that says conjugate, it will bring up quite a few tenses here. We have only discussed the passé composé and the present tense. So if you notice, here is the present tense of the verb, and you notice also the auxiliary verb for être is avoir, and the past participle is été. Going back to the conjugator, you will notice also there are notes on how to conjugate your verbs. So this is a nice resource to have if you want to go out there and use that to conjugate your verbs. Être verbs are also known as house verbs. This is another way to remember these verbs, and I'll go over that with you tomorrow. I want to show you that the verbs that use être as the auxiliary or helping verb also are related to activities in and around the house. It's another device you can use in order to remember